Welcome
We're
back
gonna
to
talk
the Boot
about a host
Tragedies.
of things today, but first we got to start with Alvin Kamara. He's been indicted on 2 criminal charges stemming from an incident back last year, February 5th, 2022 in Las Vegas. He got into it with a guy. Him and a couple other people apparently jumped this guy, beat on this guy. So the guy is obviously pressing charges and pursuing charges. He also has a civil case against him that's going to be in court. So Alvin Kamara's in some hot water. Last year, it just kind of got pushed back once the season was over, and now the inevitable was just gonna happen. So now he's gonna have to face these charges, see how this plays out in court, and we'll talk about this incident just a little bit. As I'll always say in these type of cases, man, I wasn't there, so I have no idea what happened, what transpired between Alvin Kamara and this gentleman. But what I can say is Alvin Kamara has to be smarter than this. You just have to be smarter. It's Pro Bowl weekend. You're in Las Vegas, man. Just hire some security. You get paid a pretty nice piece of change. I'm not counting the man's pocket, but just hire some security. Hire security for a night. Hire security for 2 nights. Hire your driver. Just do these things, man, to protect yourself at all costs. You don't run into these situations. That way you're not liable for anything like this. This guy's looking for a hefty sum of money. You're facing criminal charges. Just a lot going on that you don't need. One thing is for certain, the guy was injured. I've seen the pictures that was floating around. So the guy definitely took a beating from someone. Not sure if it was Alvin Kamara, the other 4 individuals that was with him. But they've been charged with conspiracy to commit battery and battery resulting in substantial bodily harm. Now, I don't know what these charges consist of and how much time it consists of. If Alvin Kamara, does time on this, I'm going to highly doubt that just because these things never seem to go out that way. Guy has a high-priced lawyer, I'm pretty sure, so I'm sure it'll get knocked down to a misdemeanor. He might take a plea deal in that, and then we'll get to the NFL, rulings once this plays out. But I have no idea how this is going to play out. But Alvin Kamara and his lawyer continuously, to deny these claims. They said, Alvin Kamara had nothing to do with this. So obviously, it's going to be 2 different sides to this story. Apparently, there's no video evidence, so, we'll see how this plays out. The guy's also seeking $10 million in damages, so that's going to be another case that Alvin Kamara is going to have to go through. Now, on the football side of things, obviously, Alvin Kamara didn't have his best of season under Pete Carmichael for the first season, but Alvin Kamara is a big piece to the Saints offense, and now he's more than likely going to get suspended. This has to play out in court. I know the NFL won't make a decision until this plays out in court, but what I do think is going to happen is Alvin Kamara is going to have to pay up. That's kind of how these things go, man. You put your hands on somebody, especially when you're the breadwinner. Whoever's the richest, they're going to have to pay. So he's probably going to, settle out with this guy in court. This probably won't even make it, past the criminal stages. I think the guy's going to win his civil lawsuit, get some money from Alvin Kamara and the other guys that were involved, and I think they'll wrap that up. Now, what the NFL is going to do to that, I think he's going to get a minimum of 4 games from Roger Goodell. That's the best case scenario for the Saints as Alvin Kamara walks away with a 4-game suspension. This has been drawn out for almost a year and almost a month now, so they have to get this done. Whatever happens. The date is coming up, I believe, March 5th or something like that. Just double checked, it's actually March 2nd, so that date's coming up in a couple of weeks. The indictment means that this criminal case will immediately bypass Las Vegas Justice Court and move to the district court. So that court date is set for March 2nd, so we'll know more after March 2nd if all of this takes 1 day in court. Who knows how that's going to play out. But Alvin Kamara's in hot water, been in it for a year, kind of played through it last season, and now let's hopefully just get wrapped up by the end of March, because obviously a running back is a big need for the Saints, and if Alvin Kamara is going to be suspended 6 games, 8 games, 4 games, you don't know how many games he's going to be suspended. Maybe that running back position becomes even a bigger need in the draft than it already is. Maybe instead of waiting the 2nd or 3rd round to take a running back, maybe you're feeling that pressure to draft a running back in the 1st round. So we'll see what the Saints do with that once these charges and things are cleared up. Also, the Saints named a bunch of coaching changes. We have a brand new coaching staff that's going to be coaching this team. Dennis Allen is basically gutting the roster. Some guys are leaving and getting promotions because they've been a part of a fairly successful, franchise for the last couple years under Sean Payton. Not really, so much under Dennis Allen. So guys are getting pay raises, guys are getting promoted, guys who want bigger roles. So a lot of moving and shuffling going on with the Saints. And let's talk about some of these hires. Let's start off with the defensive coordinator position. That will be Joe Woods. He's going to get the defensive coordinator position under Dennis Allen. Now, this doesn't really, do anything for me. It doesn't move me as much as it may move some people, just because this is still going to be Dennis Allen's defense. Dennis Allen's still going to call the plays and things like that. But Joe Woods has a long history in football. He's been coaching since 1992, which is a long, long time. His first NFL job was 2004, so almost 20 years of experience in the NFL. He's been a defensive back coach. He's been a defensive coordinator on 3 different spots, passing game coordinator as well, which is kind of weird. He was that for the San Francisco 49ers, but he's been a defensive coordinator for most of his career, on the defensive side of the ball with the Bucks, with the Raiders, with the Broncos, 49ers, Browns, and now the Saints. So good hire for the Saints. Very, very experienced. Coaches the secondary as well. So a lot of things he's gonna help with this defense. Like I said, it's still gonna be Dennis Allen's defense for the most part. So this hire doesn't really move me, but Joe Woods will be the next defensive coordinator for the New Orleans Saints. Next, we have Todd Grantham. He's going to be the new defensive line coach. I think this is a very, very good hire right here. This is a guy that's, a former defensive coordinator for the Florida Gators, worked under Alabama last year, was been in college, for the most of his career, within the NFL in the early 2000s. Then he ended up going to college, was at Georgia, Louisville, Mississippi State, Florida, Alabama. So coach, in some high tier SEC defenses. Now he comes to the Saints as the defensive line coach, obviously replacing Ron Nielsen, who went on to be the defensive coordinator for the Falcons. So I think this is a very, very good hire, especially, getting a guy with that much experience, defensive coordinator experience, over 30 years of coaching to come be the defensive line coach. That's just a great hire. Then we got Marcus Robinson. He's going to come and be the secondary coach. He was the secondary coach in Arizona this past season. I think our cornerback play has been pretty good, so hopefully he can work some magic with the safeties on the roster. I'm looking forward to see what he can do, with this roster, with these safeties, with these young players we have. Hopefully we can help develop them guys. Also, a new tight ends coach, Clancy Barone. He's going to be a tight ends coach. And another thing, man, Dennis Allen, the one thing he did, he hired a lot of guys with experience. He didn't take any risks. Barone, 34 years of coaching experience. His first 17 at the collegiate level, his last 17 at the NFL level. So this guy has been around the block for a minute. He's gonna come in. He's gonna help this Saints coaching staff. So Dennis Allen, man, he's put together a nice staff. Also, I forgot Kevin Carberry, he's going to be assistant offensive line coach with the Saints. That offensive line had a very, very good year last year. A super, super good year. He was spending the last 2 seasons with the Rams. And look, man, Dennis Allen, he's got his guys. He lost some people. He hired everyone he wanted to hire. He's not, shocked that he's the head coach like last season with Sean Payton stepping away. I kind of give him a pass just because you didn't expect to be the head coach. It was kind of thrown on you. You got your year 1 out the way. Well, not really a pass, but you know what I mean. Now, hey, you hired your own guys. You got your own staff. You got your own defensive coordinator. You want to call plays. You decided to bring Pete Carmichael back when you're changing all these things on defense, and you brought the offense back, which was absolutely putrid and awful last year. Now the ball's on your court. The ball's in your hands. It's time for you to do what you got to do. And if you don't, get to step in. So, hey, we got a bunch of new coaches. Alvin Kamara's getting indicted. Just a lot going on in Saints world right now, man. Welcome to the tragedy, of course. And we'll see how it plays out. Once this Alvin Kamara news kind of wraps up, shakes up, then we'll see where, everything's heading. I'll probably have a new mock coming soon. I know I've been out of the loop right now, but it's all season, man. I grind once the draft starts. If you've been following this channel and subscribe for a minute, when the draft comes, I'm on it. I'm super on it. So kind of taking a little break right now, but I'll still be here periodically. I'll still wrap up those season reviews in a minute as well, man. But thank y'all for tuning in once again. As always, this the Boo Tragedies, and I'm out.